Welcome to my home garage. Today we got the 2016 Cayenne diesel, Porsche, and we have some electrical issues with the vehicle. So, put the key in the car. We got no check engine lights. We have a airbag light with the vehicle running. But here's our issue. Nothing on this door works. The only light that lights up is the anti-theft light, and we have the light for the lane assist. That light works. So let's put up the scanner and scan the vehicle and just see what we have first, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so I filled out a report on it, so let's take a quick look. It's pretty long. All right, so we got DTCs in every single module. Airbag DTC, we got driver's side airbag pressure sensor, instrument cluster, no communication with driver's door control unit. Well, nothing works in our driver's door. 3 parking brake DTCs, driveway release not available. Supply, more DTCs, lane assist DTCs, DTC. So we know for a fact nothing works in the passenger side door. So let's start there and then we'll worry about the rest of it after. So if we take a look at our codes that we have, every code is to do with no communication with driver's side door. But everything, even on the passenger door, it's complaining it can't talk to the driver's door. Okay, so let's look for the driver's control module in our trouble codes. So we have passenger control module. Hold on. We have passenger door, rear lid. We have everything here. Headlamp, right rear door. So everything, passenger door. What don't we have? Driver's side door and rear passenger side door. So we have a problem with communication or power going to the driver's side door because nothing's working in that door. We've confirmed that. So I don't have a wiring diagram, so let's pretend we don't have one. So what are the common parts of this door? If you look at the door, like what is it going to share? I know from doing the touareg that there's one control unit and everything splices off there to everywhere. There are a few miscellaneous wires that run, but nothing works in this door. You can't use the door locks. Manual. Well, obviously you use it manually. None of the memories work. None of the window switches work. Only the speaker works because I believe that comes from an audio control unit. So I looked at a wiring schematic. I didn't download the pretty much all data because let's just see if we can do it without it. So what we have here is a main junction point where everything comes in. So we know that. So take a look here. This is our main entry of wires into our door. So let's just do a visual inspection before we start looking at wiring diagrams or anything like that. So we can turn off our key for now. Okay. So I'm just going to pull this off. Okay. All right. So initial inspection. Here's a little backstory. So when the car came to me, it was intermittently, the door didn't work. And then all of a sudden the door started working except for the windows. And I was hearing a buzzing noise from here in this area. And so I took it apart and then I started looking and I saw that there's like a little frayed wire there. So I put my test light there. There's no power there. That is one of the fatter wires. So it's probably a power supply wire. So then I said, oh, I can see some white stuff there. So what I did next is I pulled this connector off. So let's do that. Okay. So once I pull this connector off, this is what I find. So we got all corrosion here. So let's get a mirror and look behind there. Okay, so I got my mirror. Let's get this wire out of the way. Okay, put it down here. And now let's just take a look. We can't look at those pins. It's hard to tell. So let's get a mirror and see what we see. So what do we see in there? Well, we see corrosion. But more importantly, what is missing in the bottom? Our entire pin is missing. If you look at the wiring here, you'll see that there should be 3 wires on one side and 2 wires on the other at the bottom. So what do we actually have? Well, we're missing one bottom pin right there on the R right bottom corner. So an entire pin is missing. So what we have to do is remove this harness here. Okay. I've already checked the fuses to this door panel behind here, and the fuse is fine. So let's remove this right here and see if we can't find a way to fix this without having to replace this entire area, because right now you can only get these harness connectors. Actually, okay, so let's inspect the other side of this here. So what we have to do is, well, we got to remove all this stuff out of the way so we can disconnect our scanner. We're gonna have to remove this panel, the lower panel. It has one screw here. There's a screw behind here, and then there's a clip, I'll show you with a mirror, that you have to release. If you see at the top there, it's hard to tell, but let me turn it off. Pretty much right behind here, there's a clip that you release, which allows this to come off. This is for the hood release. Also, we're going to need to remove this area here all the way to get access behind here. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so all the panels are removed. As you can see, I just lifted this up to release the bottom one. The clip that I was talking about that locks the hood release locks behind here into this clip. And then this feeds in through a hole just behind. There's a hole right there. So that hole feeds into this side. So that's how it clips onto this side so that everything can connect. So let's take a look at this connector. So as you can see, there's a bunch of corrosion and the pin is completely missing from that bottom section there. So what we should do right now is confirm that there is power at that pin and that we don't have any issues. So it will be that red and yellow wire, which I've confirmed in a diagram for a touareg, not Porsche, that should be power. So let's check that right now. Okay, so we got our test light connected. So let's turn the key to the on position and we'll just check a few fuses, make sure our test light works, and we got power. Okay. If you take a look over there, now we'll put this down like this and we'll check for power at here. And you can see we have power there, but we do not even have power on this side. So there's that broken connector. Look. So imagine it's making contact. Nothing's happening. Look how hard I have to press to make contact. So that is the problem with this. So what we're going to do is, this wire is useless. We're going to release this pin, release the other side, and run our own wire underneath here with a connector on this side, just as a temporary repair until we can get 2 pigtail harnesses and I could repin these 2 connectors appropriately. So that's what we're going to do now. And let's see if we can restore connection. Okay, so we ran into an issue where even with the key off, there's always power at that door module. So as I confirmed, there is no more power there. I removed fuse 16. So this electronics on this car is exactly like a touareg. So fuse 16, right there, this one right here, is for the driver's control module door, amongst other things. I'm sure it runs other things, but for right now, we're just trying to do some wiring repair. We don't want any power there while we're working, so that's that. Okay, so I was able to release the pin, and as you can see, it's completely gone. Like the part that the little male end of the pin is completely gone. And the way you release it is you remove this purple retaining clip. It just slides out of here. You just pull back on it, and then you insert 2 pins On either side of the pin, there's 2 holes. So I inserted 2 cotter pins like this. And what it does is it depresses the little clips, the little tabs on there. You see those little tabs, the little raised area? It pretty much pushes that down and allows it to release. So now we have to make a decision. We're gonna, well, first of all, we have to clean this whole thing because it's a disaster. We can't have all this corrosion inside here. So I'm gonna clean this all up with contact cleaner, and then I'm gonna release this side as well and clean everything on this side. And then we're gonna run a bypass wire. Okay, so I cut the terminals off and I ran a temporary wire, soldered it, heat shrink to the other side, and we're gonna make sure everything works. I'm gonna clean this one up, put everything back together, and let's see if the door is working again. Okay, everything is reconnected. I made it look as seamless as possible. And now let's put our fuse back in. All right, guys. So it didn't work after I did the repair, and the reason why was I actually soldered the wrong wire together. So I actually soldered the power to the ground, and then there was no power going to the door. So there was the ground pin was actually corroded too. That's why I thought that was the one that was bad on this side, but just goes to show you, pay attention better. So now I got both wires repaired, and eventually we're gonna get a pigtail harness and do a proper repair, but this is just to confirm concept. So all the windows work now. All the mirrors work. All the buttons work. So the actual and only real issue with this car was a bad ground and a bad power to the front left door control module. But because of that, the rear door control module did not work. So I'm going to go into a little tangent after I finish the repair. Hold on. So now I'm auto scanning the vehicle again. And if any of you remember before, we had about 50 codes all related to driver's door control module, no communication, rear passenger door module, no communication. So everything seems to be okay now. We'll take the vehicle for a test drive, make sure everything's okay, and then that's it. And in the future, I'm going to order the pigtail for that harness and do a proper repair, because I believe it needs 2 new connectors. I would just change everything out, like 2 new connectors, 2 new connector cases, as well as the 2 new actual pins to go in there and make sure everything's nice. So let's see, we have absolutely no codes. All right, guys. So I diagnosed this vehicle. Let's go over the whole story of the vehicle. So my brother-in-law brings it to me. He goes, nothing works on the driver's side door. Sometimes the locks work. Sometimes the windows make a noise. Nothing works in the rear except for the windows. So initially when I looked at it, I was like, oh, everything's working now. I'm like, shit, intermittent. So when I get to the car and I try to push on the window, the lights are dimming, like the ambient lighting and all the switch lighting. It's starting to dim, and I hear coming from like the door jamb. So I open up the door and I just start like kind of moving the harness, and all of a sudden everything shut off. No more communication, nothing works, no lights, except for this, which has its separate wire. The speakers have separate wires, and the mirror lane assist button here, it has its own wires that come from the body control module. So those didn't even go into the door control module. So I said, fine. I didn't understand why the rear door wasn't activated, wasn't working either. I thought maybe they were related. So I open everything up. Sure enough, there's a wire with a tear in it. And then I take off the connector, and it was all corroded like you saw. Problem is, I soldered the 2 wrong wires together just because they looked the worst, and my eye... Doesn't matter, I made a mistake. Regardless, everything's fixed now. The correct wires are soldered together. The door, everything works. All the door locks work. This car likes to go to sleep quick. Your seat works. All the windows work. Everything works. Everything lights up. So everything's good. So the point, what I'm trying to say is, so I downloaded All Data's DYI, you know, pretty much like they give you all the information that's available. I don't know if it was everything, because it seemed, from my years at the dealer, it seemed like it was lacking some information. But I was trying to find, initially I didn't realize that I was the one that caused the problem the second time. So I was looking for a common denominator between the rear door and the front door. Why isn't the rear door working? Why can't anything communicate to the front door and rear door? So I didn't find any. There was no physical link between this door and the back door. None. How it works is, when you press the window switch here, it goes to the body control module. Then the body control module sends a signal to like the central communication locks, if you're using locks. If not, it goes to the window. So there is no direct connection through a network. There isn't even network wires on the rear module. That's why when the front door control module stops working, the rear one stops working, because it almost talks through it. Because the way that the other cars know what's going on with the back one is through the front one somehow. And it doesn't really show it in the diagrams, so it's kind of very weird. So a test that I was going to do, if it wasn't me that caused this fault, was pull the fuse for the passenger side control module and then see if I can talk to the rear control module. That was the test I was going to do. I'm not going to do it now, because we obviously know that anything happening with the front control module is related to the rear module. Whether it's a signal, a wake-up line signal that it gets, or some sort of power feed to it, because I actually checked the power feeds on the rear harness and it was getting power. So if it has power and it has ground, why didn't the rear locks work? Because I believe the rear locks for the door go through the front control module, then back there through some kind of signal wire. I don't know. I'll be honest, All Data, I was not that impressed. Maybe because I was dealing with kind of a weird issue, but I wasn't really impressed with the OE diagrams. They were horrible. Half of them weren't even there. There was no electrical diagrams, only for the computer. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this simple yet difficult Porsche Cayenne repair. I could have easily edited out my mistake, but you know, those happen, and it led me to kind of question this rear door. But in my notes I wrote, confirm your repair first. So that's what I did. And although we did, like Ivan from Pine Hall Diagnostics says, we did a Russian hack here, we will eventually do it correctly, because I don't want any more water intrusion. I actually put some silicone around that harness connector, clear, just so we don't get any more water insertion until the repair is done. It'll be easily wiped away after. All right, guys, thanks for watching.